So for the past few days, HYBE has been getting absolutely dragged. Like, the internet is not holding back. All this drama started over this so-called weekly music industry report that's been circulating among HYBE execs and their sublabels. According to a media outlet on October 30th, they're saying HYBE's own chairman, Bang PD, was the one who pushed for these reports to get shared around. There's actually an email from January 6, 2022, where Bang PD himself replied to the head of Weverse magazine, who's apparently the mind behind these reports. He even asked them to add Zico to the recipient list. So yeah, all the bigwigs at HYBE and their subsidiary labels, including Adore's CEO, have apparently been getting these so-called reports for years, and there are supposedly a whopping 18,000 pages worth of these reports. Yep, you heard that right, 18,000 pages filled with comments about K-pop idols' looks, their skills, rumors, possible marketing strategies, you name it. And here's the kicker, only 20 pages of this stuff have actually leaked. And HYBE is already in crisis mode, trying to put out fires everywhere. Right now, groups like ILET and lesserafim are feeling the heat because of it. I mean, as someone who's been into K-pop for a while, this toxic culture at HYBE, I am not surprised. So what was actually in these internal documents that's got everyone so mad? Let's talk about the things HYBE reports said about other groups, starting with Blackpink. So HYBE took things to a whole new level by labeling Blackpink in these reports as a famous for being famous group. Like, seriously, that's such a shady comment. Fans are pointing out that HYBE is basically trying to push this narrative that Blackpink's fame has less to do with their actual music and more with their celebrity status. In other words, it sounds like they're saying, yeah, they're famous, but it's not really about the talent. And they've been keeping a close eye on Blackpink's ticket sales, which is kind of telling. They've noted that while Blackpink is crushing it in Asia and Europe, their sales in Japan and North America aren't as strong. But their concerts in Asia keep their popularity soaring because fans are sharing videos that make them look like total stars. HYBE is basically saying the members' popularity comes from those fancam videos, which is a bit of a stretch. Sure, fancams can help an idol go viral, but let's be real, Blackpink's fame isn't just riding on those clips. The group's got a massive following because of their talent and hard work, and those fancams aren't the only reason for their huge ticket sales. HYBE comments seem to downplay Blackpink achievements, suggesting their success comes more from their social image and online presence than from their actual music. I mean, come on. This totally ignores the dedication and effort Blackpink has put in over the years. Then they keep digging. One of the reports claimed that Blackpink's big break was performing at Coachella, hinting that HYBE might be looking for a similar moment for lesserafim in Europe. They even mentioned suspicious voting patterns for a global popularity award, suggesting it might be tied to one Blackpink member's international fan base. But let's be real, Blackpink was already a force before Coachella. They had started their careers with bangers like Whistle and Boom Baya, and were already making waves on the Billboard charts with hits like As If It's Your Last and D4. So saying Coachella was their turning point, a bit ridiculous, right? And fans are now speculating that this is why HYBE sent lesserafim to Coachella when they clearly weren't ready. With these documents coming to light, it's hard to think lesserafim won't catch some heat for this. I've defended them multiple times, especially during their rough patches, because let's be honest, we shouldn't punish artists for their company's actions. HYBE even compared lesserafim to Blackpink and Twice, pointing out what each group lacks and what lesserafim should strive for. They mentioned how Blackpink aimed for Coachella and mingled with foreign celebs, but lacked strong management. Meanwhile, Twice has killer teamwork and plays major stadium, but struggles with controversies. And they said lesserafim has built a reputation for quality live performances, but they need to tour more to compete. They literally want lesserafim to blend the best parts of Blackpink and Twice. Fans are not happy about this comparison at all. They're calling out HYBE for the audacity to compare lesserafim's poor performances to Blackpink's. Like, that's just disrespectful. Now, since we're on the topic of YG entertainment girl groups, let's talk about the shady comments about Baby Monster and SM Entertainment's new girl group. In the internal documents, they straight up said, SM's new girl group, none of them are pretty. I wondered if their trainee infrastructure was even worse than Baby Monster. I hate hate to say it, but there are a ton of comments about idols' looks. We've been calling out the K-pop industry for years for this obsession with appearances, and now these leaked documents just confirm that it's not just talk, there's a real focus on something as subjective as looks, and it's frustrating. But Baby Monster seems to have clapped back at HYBE in a video they posted. Leading up to their comeback, Baby Monster dropped a Beeman News episode, which looked like a fun comedy skit to tease what fans can expect from them. In the video, Aurora talked about exposing Baby Monster, and the caption said, "The truth about Beeman, internal disclosure by a YG employee." Like, did they just casually call out HYBE with that internal reference? People definitely took that as a direct shot at HYBE. And then there's this moment where Farida said, "The kids are dangerously pretty. How can all 7 of them be so pretty?" You can almost hear the confidence in that statement. So it's super interesting to see how the girls are navigating this. Instead of staying silent, they're coming out swinging. Love that. Now let's talk about Zero Base One, because they're not letting HYBE get away with those shady comments about idols' appearances. One part of HYBE document went off saying, when the members are grouped together, they create this synergy of ugliness that is hard to stand. Like, seriously? What even is that? But their agency wasn't about to let that slide. They responded on the Mnet Plus app with a link titled, "A Synergy of Handsomeness, Moments of Zero Base One's Visual Blessings." That's right, everyone gets a dose of reality with clips of the members serving looks and proving that they're all total stunners. Unlike HYBE, who just keeps throwing shade, everyone else has been pretty chill about their responses. And it doesn't stop there. HYBE has been tossing around ugly comments about a bunch of other groups too. Almost every big name in K-pop has been called out in these reports. Let's talk about Asepa and Asepa for a second. HYBE had the nerve to suggest that lesserafim skills were better than theirs. They went so far as to say Asepa and Asepa may have chart-topping hits and recognition from the public. But once they go on tour, the reactions will soon change for the worse when people witness their performances. But first of all, both of these groups have proven themselves time and again. Sure, there's always room for improvement, but to act like their talent isn't there, that's a wild take. They've built massive fan bases for a reason, and fans aren't just going to sit back and let these comments slide. It's becoming pretty clear that HYBE's internal documents is getting the K-pop community fired up. Groups are starting to step up and defend themselves, and it's honestly refreshing to see. Then there are comments about Stray Kids and NCT Dream, and they were considered visually inferior to HYBE-owned boy band TXT. Stray Kids Changbin was pointed out in the HYBE report because of his short stature. They said, of course, Yeonjun is good at performing and seeing, even just standing still. He brings meaning to things. He just had to be the one interviewing NCT Dream and Stray Kids, and we felt sorry seeing how Yeonjun destroyed both groups with his physique. Subin is known for his tall height and his pure and naive image, so he didn't look too out of place alongside them. But the difference between Yeonjun and Changbin when they stand next to each other is too much. Rise was mentioned multiple times in the report with comments on Anton's skills and Wonbin's looks. They said Wonbin's look had already raised eyebrows during KCON because his front and profile shots were noticeably different. The team kept him in a beanie constantly, possibly because while some parts of his face are attractive, they don't harmonize completely, so styling plays a huge role for him. Without the beanie's added height, his proportions were also surprisingly lacking, which might make it hard for him to fully take on the center role. Former member Sunghyun's scandal was also mentioned, and the other members of the group were referred to as backup. NewJeans was mentioned multiple times. But one comment that stood out the most was HYBE's plans of throwing the group away while promoting lesserafim and Islet. Basically, HYBE has 3 rising girl groups, NewJeans, Islet, and lesserafim. To hype them up as the future of K-pop, fans and media started using the term New Illy, short for NewJeans, Ilya, lesserafim, and this really boosted Illet's popularity. HYBE apparently wasn't happy with this. In their eyes, lesserafim was ready for the big leagues like Blackpink, Aespa, and groups that are hitting those million album sales right off the bat. So HYBE thought, why keep lesserafim in this new generation category when we could push them as top tier K-pop icons? The plan was to ditch NewJeans, drop the whole new part entirely, and give lesserafim their own boost by associating them with Blackpink and a million sellers, while slowly shifting focus away from NewJeans and promoting Islet and lesserafim. Netizens' opinions have significantly shifted about NewJeans and Min Heejin. They feel like they were right from the start and HYBE hate NewJeans. Fans are a little shaken to see how calculated these strategies are. Then, GIDLE's concept photos were ridiculed for having many similarities to 2NE, one style, and a photo shoot of a fashion brand. They decided to take some shots at Vicha, claiming their skills just aren't at the idol level and dragging their whole concept through the mud. Honestly, it's not just about the members they picked, it's what they're doing with them. Watching Vicha perform, yeah, it's kind of disappointing. It feels like JYP has this obsession with chasing after the success of groups like meovv. They seem to have randomly gathered a bunch of kids from different countries, trying to slap on that cute JYP vibe. Like, that's gonna automatically pull in fans. I mean, are they just banking on good looks and cute concepts? And music video, it's got all the cliches, including a scene where the members dream of being idols, but their audition is judged by 3 foreigners. Like, JY Park is the only one auditioning them? What even is that? It feels so superficial and honestly a bit cringe, especially with a guy who looks like Simon Cowell popping up during the evaluations. Now moving on to Triple S, saying a group from a small to middle-sized company released a choreography video for their B-side involving 16 members. They abandoned their adventurous concept to chase vibes similar to Japanese idols from the Showa era. They were basically saying that just because you have a lot of members doesn't mean it's a large-scale performance if the choreography is awkward. That's like calling a college interest group a full-fledged idol group. And it doesn't stop there. HYBE also took shots at other idols. They were quick to point out how NCT's Haechan wasn't facing as much heat over his smoking scandal as Jungkook did. And seriously, what's the deal with NMIX's leader Haewon reading a feminist book? Apparently that's a problem too. To top it off, there are some pretty inflammatory statements about artists having overdone plastic surgery and being labeled shockingly unattractive. That's just not cool. So it looks like the CEO of HYBE, Lee, has finally stepped up to take responsibility for that cringeworthy monitoring document that got leaked. He issued a statement where he expressed deep regret over the provocative and crude language used in it. He bowed his head in apology to the artists, industry colleagues, and fans affected by the language. Honestly, it was about time someone acknowledged how inappropriate that whole situation was. Lee mentioned that while the document was meant for a limited executive audience, it still shouldn't have contained that kind of content. He promised to stop making these reports and said he'd reach out to apologize directly to the artists and agencies involved, as well as to his own artists who felt the fallout. They even reassigned the alleged employee responsible for the document, known only by his surname Kong, and the editor-in-chief of Weverse. But let's be real, firing a couple of people isn't going to fix the mess HYBE has created. This whole situation has offended basically the entire K-pop industry, and this leaked report was just 20 pages long. Imagine the content and the full 18,000 page reports they've been putting together over the years. There was a massive difference between analyzing your competition and outright insulting them. It feels like we're getting a glimpse behind the curtain at how these companies meticulously plan their idols' images and positions, and it really makes you think about the pressure these idols are under. I can't even imagine how the idols are feeling reading comments about themselves like that. No amount of apologies can heal that kind of damage. This whole thing is a stark reminder of how much control these companies have over their artists and how much suffering it can lead to. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's a reality.